My name is Zoltán Bathó. Originally, I'm from Hungary. I have worked in the industry for the last more than 15 years, working on CG cinematics, animations, virtual production, virtual reality, augmented reality, so basically all these like fancy R words, and now the other fancy AI expression as well. So at the moment I'm working in the Netherlands at Breda University of Applied Sciences. So basically there's a research and development lab there, which is called Cradle, and we are doing quite a few projects with virtual productions. We were the first university in continental Europe who actually built their own virtual production stage there, and the last 5 years, we had the opportunity to actually lead the pipeline and work for development of virtual production. I'm also a host and organizer of the annual Virtual Productions Gathering, again in Breda. It happens in every April, so you are all invited to the next 6th edition of the Virtual Productions Gathering in Breda. It's a nice boutique conference gathering. It's really about virtual production, so it's not about like having a nice lunch or dinner. It's really about like talking to people who are in the virtual production ecosystem. And I'm also the founder of the Virtual Production Services, which is basically a news aggregate website. Again, it's all about virtual production. So as you can tell, I'm really interested in virtual production, and basically that's my bread and butter, and that's where I really like to shine and know what's happening. So again, today I'm going to talk about what happened in the virtual production very briefly, shortly, not too much, but I will talk more about what's going to happen in the next coming years with virtual production. At least that's what we think is going to happen, because again, no one really knows what's going to happen with this whole AI craziness around us, but we do have a bit of an understanding, seeing how other technologies evolved the last few years and how virtual production is evolving in these very moments. So let's have a bit of a recap. So virtual production, right? It's funny because most people think that virtual production is new, is absolutely new. It just like happened during COVID. Well, it's actually not true. Virtual production has been with us for more than, I would say, like 10 years. Like virtual production is basically like a summary term. It's not just like one technology or one technique. It's about a suite of tools which helped story makers and production companies creating new productions and new tools to make storytelling easier, better, more beautiful, something like this. So basically, even Lion King used a technology called virtual cam, and with that technology, the whole production crew could actually pre-visualize the shots with the help of basically like a custom-built, sort of like a tablet type of tool, and that helped the DOP to frame the shots and make sure that basically the whole production team is only going to build the scenes which are going to be seen on the movie screen. The other obvious example is Avatar. So the whole Avatar film was using like a whole ton of virtual production technologies. No LED screen at that time, right? So, but we still used virtual production for explaining what they actually used. Now, basically, most of the people think that virtual production is this, what we see here. It's true and not, because as I just explained, virtual production is more of like a term for a multitude of tools, but this is the shiniest sort of like piece of tool in the tool shed, the LED volume. And the Mandalorian, most probably you all know that the Mandalorian was the first sort of like a movie series which used the LED volume as a virtual production tool, and that just happened to be basically the right time for introducing such a very complicated and very tedious sort of like technology set. Because what you see here seems pretty easy. It's just like a big screen, right? But behind this big screen, there's loads of different tools, softwares, networking solutions, which have to work together to see what you see here. Basically, when The Mandalorian happened, that just happened to be around COVID, when movie studios had to shut down and they didn't have the opportunity to continue their sort of like regular schedules. And when most of these sort of like studios and production companies saw what this LED volume is capable of, they all jumped onto the bandwagon. They thought that, okay, this is it. This is going to solve all of our problems, and this is a jolly joker. And from now on, we are not going to need any on-set location, nothing. We're just going to be like sitting in a studio shooting everything, no matter what. What a surprise, it wasn't true. It's not a jolly joker at all whatsoever. And just so that I can show you that this is not a new thing in the civilization, that we think that something is a jolly joker, we all jump on it, and then we realize that this is not true. There's actually a very nice graph over there, which is called the Gartner Hype Cycle, and it's basically true for all technologies, like what you can imagine. Like, no matter what is new, everyone thinks that, wow, this is it. The expectations, that's the innovation trigger. The expectation goes up. Wow, we have found the jolly joker. This is going to solve everything. And then as time, goes on, you sort of realize that this is actually not true, and you just like drop down to the trough of disillusionment, which is again not true, because a technology, if it's not like a jolly joker, that doesn't mean that it can't be used for certain use cases. And that's exactly true for virtual production as well. Now, I would say that we are around the middle of the slope of enlightenment. So we have a pretty good idea and grasp now that what virtual production is capable of, and what are the typical use cases what we can really use this technology. Okay, some words about the benefits and the challenges. So yeah, it's much more comfortable to shoot in a studio like this than in the desert, where you don't have water, where you have to use aggregators to produce electricity, where you have to travel, you have to take all your gears with you. It's a hassle. Sometimes it's fun, obviously. For example, if you need to shoot in, I don't know, in Rome, and you like to be in Rome, then obviously it's better to shoot in Rome. But it's not more. It's less comfortable, and it's definitely more expensive than shooting in a studio like this. Quick set swaps. So again, if you have like a week to shoot in Rome or in Mexico and in I don't know, in Hungary, then you will not make it. Like, you will not be able to shoot in 3 different locations like that within a week. Here in this studio, or in other studios, or other VP studios, you can definitely do that, potentially even within a day. Obviously, you need to have a bit of a preparation. It's not like a magic trick, what you can just like pull out of your pocket and then voila, it just happened. You have to make sure that you have like a nice preparation time, but it's possible. Beautiful reflections. So basically, the Mandalorian, the whole idea of shooting the Mandalorian in an LED volume was partially because the Mandalorian was wearing an outfit which had like ton of reflections. So shooting the whole Mandalorian in a green screen would have created a ton of work for the compositors, cleaning all the green spills and stuff like that. So it actually made sense to shoot the Mandalorian in the right sort of like colored environment. Immersed actors, actresses. This is an interesting one. This is actually a thing which we already realized after doing quite a few shots, that the actors and actresses came back to the production company saying like, wow, it really felt immersive. I really felt I was there. Like, I just like looking around and seeing the castle, I could really get into the mood of like, yes, I'm here. How does it feel? What should I do? How should I react? So actually it really helps all the actors and actresses to get the mood, to really make their best performances out of them. Yeah, real-time creative iteration. So basically, shooting in a volume like this and using software called Unreal Engine or other 3D softwares, you can actually create modifications, do modifications on set, on the day, if you have prepared well. Again, preparation is a key. I wouldn't suggest you to just like do a shoot day without any preparation. That's not the case. It actually requires more preparation than like a normal on-set shoot, but with the right setup, you can actually sort of like modify the whole scene according to the DOP or the director's modification requests. You can swap buildings, you can swap environments, you can sort of like keep the golden hour on the screen throughout the whole sort of like day. So there's lots of creative opportunities for the right people, for the right sort of like team. Because again, it's actually quite difficult to do a virtual production shoot without having all the stakeholders agreed on shooting in an LED volume. That's going to be on the challenges side. Lower footprint, that's becoming actually a very important point. Sustainability, I think we all agree that it's very important in everywhere. And now even movie productions have some sort of like they're more getting standards of like, yeah, we need to make sure that our production is sustainable from an environmental point of view as well. So basically shooting in a studio like this is way more effective and sustainable from an environmental point of view than shooting on location. First of all, you don't have to like set up and build huge movie sets and then just like put them in the bin, and also just the travel cost and the travel expenses and environmental issues what the travel cause, you can just like diminish them. Let's talk about the challenges a little bit as well, because obviously there's going to be challenges. So it's not, as I mentioned, this is not a jolly joker. So you really need to make sure that when you actually select a virtual production, virtual production shoot, you know that there's gonna be challenges and there's gonna be situations where you really need to make sure that you talk about those challenges and you make sure that everyone agrees and everyone knows that what and how the challenges should be mitigated. It can be expensive. It's like the whole setup, what you see here is a fortune. So obviously if you as a, production company wants to shoot in a volume like this, you really need to make sure that you have as many shots in the production for the volume as possible. So that also means that even if you have a few shots where you think that, yeah, the VP volume can be pretty amazing, I would urge you to actually go back to the script, go through the whole script with a VP supervisor and just like double check certain shots which were not meant to be shot in a volume, but with a bit of a modification, you could make it happen. So that really helps the production budget to go down, and obviously that also means that the production manager will be really happy. It's not a jolly joker, I already talked about that. Complex system, you need lots of professionals here. Most of the times the studio provides quite a few professionals to run this whole show, but also you might need some professionals like a VP supervisor who actually knows how this whole system works and can help you solving problems. Change of production workflow, that's a big one, and I think that's one of the reasons why the whole virtual production process or acceptance didn't happen as quickly as we originally expected, is that basically you really need to change the way you think of pre-production, production, and post-production. Like a standard shoot, standard production is about like, yeah, okay, so we have let's say, 20% budget for pre-production, we have like 40% budget for production, and then 40% budget for post-production. You might need to change that, because in order to shoot in a volume such as this, you really need to make sure that you spend more money on the pre-production side. But the more you spend on the pre-production, the more you can save on the production itself. But you really have to think of that. yeah, you really have to have 100% buy-in from the stakeholders. If the DOP or the director is not happy shooting in a volume, it's not going to happen. It's going to be a shitstorm. So I would rather avoid that. And fragmented standards. So basically, all these studios, around the world, they follow different standards. That's why it's pretty good to see actually that that this studio has an accreditation by ARRI, which means that it follows a very serious standard from the camera maker ARRI, which also provides some sort of like an assurance for the production that the quality is actually going to be great. Okay, I think I need to speed up a little bit. Yeah, so what are the good use cases, you might ask? Well, driving flying shots, definitely. That's absolutely like a winner. That's a no-brainer. Like putting a car or a plane in a studio like this, having a 2D plate or a full 3D render, it's just gonna look great. And now in these days, we're not just having sort of like pre-recorded 2D plates, but there are more and more potential solutions for 3D, full 3D plates, procedural plates as well. So you can actually change and set up your own sort of like environment and render out a video out of the carefully planned environment with the help of Unreal Engine. So there's lots of opportunities here. I would say that this is basically the winner of virtual production right now. Virtual set libraries. So when we talk about full 3D environments, as the last sort of like few years, most of the companies who actually shot in a volume created some sort of like a 3D environment. This also helps us to actually reuse assets. There's lots of sometimes freely available or paid content on the Unreal Marketplace or other marketplaces. And if your production doesn't require like a specifically created environment, I wouldn't actually recreate them from scratch. I would just go to one of these marketplaces and sort of like kit bash the assets together, which means that actually you buy certain assets and then just like put it into a scene, and voila, you have like a fully created 3D environment. Now we have the opportunity to sort of like use images as sort of like fake 3D environments, like 2.5D environments, because at the end of the day, in certain cases, you don't need like a full 3D environment. You just have like a few shots where you know where the camera is going to be positioned and where you're going to be looking at. And then you just need to have like a tiny bit of a parallax between the layers. And in that case, you don't have to like fully create like all the sort of like back end of the alleys and I don't know, like the doors, which you will never see from the camera. But you just create some planes, and those planes will behave like 3D. That's a very easier way to create like a fully digital environment. Gaussian splattings, Gaussian scans is the new kid in the block. If you haven't seen a Gaussian splatting before, a Gaussian splat before, I would urge you to double check that. That's actually an absolutely amazing new technology which can drastically reduce the time what you require to scan a real environment and put it in the volume. This is amazing. There's some crazy guys out there who are creating absolutely amazing and very quick turnaround scans with new technologies. So this is definitely going to be one of the future solutions for virtual production. And volumetric humans, again, as you can scan an environment, you can scan a human as well. You can 4D scan, which means that it's not just like the 3D, so like part of the human, but it's also the time added into the scan. So what I actually do here on this stage can be recorded and can be replayed, and now you can even like modify them in a certain way. So that's again helps. Productions to actually put like a very realistic virtual human on the volume. Next slide. Yes. Yeah, pre-production to post-production. So it's a very important one as well, because pre-production companies used different sets of tool sets than post-production companies. Now, these two sort of like words are getting closer to each other. So now with an Unreal Engine, it's actually possible to actually use the whole software for the pre-production part and then use it in the post-production as well. Or if you can't use it, or if you don't want to use Unreal Engine in post-production, then you have the opportunity to export all the metadata out of the engine and basically give the right sort of like data to the post-production team. So that means that there's less friction between the two teams and less sort of like issues during the production pipeline. Digital set extensions, that's a big one. So when someone sees this volume the first time, the first question he or she might ask, okay, so what if my castle is bigger than the volume? Like, how can I actually shoot that? Well, it's pretty easy now with the camera tracking and with all the metadata to actually like extend the physical environment, the physical meaning like the LED volume, what you see here, and then just basically add the virtual part in a post-production manner. And in that case, like we have quite a few options now to actually create a digital set extension, which you will not be able to tell that it wasn't shot on location. Cloud near rendering, I would rather skip that. So it's actually, yeah, it might be a bit complicated. Let's go to the easier picks. Okay, hybrid live broadcast. So basically, there's more and more reference. There's more and more production happened in a virtual production stage like this. For example, the Paris 2024 Olympics, part of that happened in a virtual production studio such as this. The Sphere is like a huge virtual production scene. You really need to see that. That's the craziest virtual production scene you will ever see. The Weather Channel is continuously using virtual production scenes for their broadcast. And just lately, the Electronic Arts Battlefield 6 reveal event happened in a virtual production stage, which means that it can't just be used for a movie set, but it can also be used for events like this, but in a bigger scale. Multicam ghost frame. So one question what usually comes up, okay, so if you track the camera and if you are here in such a stage, but you want to record like a nice talking scene with two people and basically recording the two people at the same time, how can you do that? Now it's actually possible to do that. So basically with a technology which is called a ghost frame, you can actually record two people at the same time, even four in certain cases. Well, the technology, you can see a little bit on the bottom left corner how it actually works. So it actually creates different frames for the different cameras. It's a relatively easy technology now, so but not too many people are using that. So again, I think this is going to be a very important one for the future. Let's go to the next one because I'm really over the time. Sustainability, well, I already talked about that. So basically, less set waste, lower carbon footprints, and in certain cases, you can even achieve a 20 to 50% in emission reduction, which is pretty huge. And obviously, the AI. I'm not gonna lie, I have no idea what's gonna happen there. Like, that's just like, no one knows. We have some ideas. We believe that, yeah, it's definitely going to change the pipeline again and the whole workflow. It's definitely helpful for pre-production, creating the mood boards and creating visual guides for the DOP and the director. That's not even a question. I'm not entirely sure whether AI will actually change too much the way we actually shoot a virtual production shot, but it's definitely going to make it easier to pre-visualize what you want to achieve. The production itself, I think AI will have some limited opportunities there. yeah, you can just like scan these QR codes. Those are 3 major players on the market at the moment, which tend to actually focus on movie productions and virtual production at the moment. Again, it's hard to tell where that's gonna end up in the movie productions or not. So yeah, I think that was sort of it. And just before finishing, let me quickly introduce you 2 projects, what we are doing at the Breda University of Applied Sciences at the moment. So again, as I said, we are a research and development lab working a lot with virtual production. We have 2, well, we have more, but I just like wanted to show you 2 projects, what we are doing at the moment. I'm the leader of the Avenue Co project, which is basically an EU-funded opportunity or project to fill the skill gap between the education and the industry, because the other problem with this whole virtual production situation in the world is that we don't have enough people, professionals, to actually be on set or create the right environments or make sure that the whole sort of like setup works accordingly. So we are trying to fill the skill gap, identify the skills, what are required for virtual production, identify the mismatches, and we'll try to sort of like make sure that every single time a student comes out from a university, he or she will actually know what a virtual production shot looks and how the whole sort of like system works, so he or she can be sort of like on set. Maybe not from day 1, but maybe from week 2 or something like that. So this is a nice initiative. The good thing is that, as I mentioned, this is an EU-funded grant, so we get the money from the European Union, and our goal is to actually produce masterclasses, podcasts, and all sorts of like helpful materials for the virtual production ecosystem. And the other one is the Virtual Production Studio Network. It's pretty similar, basically, it's just like a different project. Again, we have already created quite a few helpful materials, production pipelines, workflows. They are publicly available, so you can just go to vpstudionetwork.com and then you can download everything. Everything is for free, thanks to the EU. So yeah, last but not least, this is the quote what I really like to use: don't marry the tool, marry the story. So again, we are storytellers. We are not technicians, like in most cases. So I would say that this is it. Like, just don't use virtual production for the sake of virtual production. Use the virtual production to improve your story, to make sure that you can tell a better story. Having said that, you should keep a very close eye on the tool as well, because at the end of the day, you're gonna need it. And without anything to add, thank you so much. Feel free to contact me. I'm here till tomorrow midday, and then going back to Breda. And again, if you happen to be in the Netherlands next April, mid-April, yeah, come over and join the Virtual Productions Gathering, the 6th edition of the Virtual Productions Gathering. Thank you so much.